I'm doing this because it is right, because it is fair, and because it is what I believe in.
Daily Mad News. Mad News. Daily Mad News. Mad News. Daily Mad News. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode of the Daily Mad News with your host, Efo Bizo, coming to you live and direct from the Mad News headquarters right here in London. So, what's the Daily Mad News for today? Daily Mad News. Keir Starmer, who is the British Prime Minister, has made new changes on British immigration. Daily Mad News. According to the news from the BBC, from the 12th of May, which is today, Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, promises migration drop as he unveils plan to tighten visa rules. So, let's actually listen to what he has to say. Daily Mad News.
Good morning. Today we publish a white paper on immigration, a strategy absolutely central to my plan for change that will finally take back control of our borders and close the book on a squalid chapter for our politics, our economy, and our country. Take back control. Everyone knows that slogan, and everyone knows what it meant on immigration, or at least that's what people thought. Because what followed from the previous government, starting with the people who used that slogan, was the complete opposite. Between 2019 and 2023, even as they were going round our country, telling people with a straight face that they would get immigration down, net migration quadrupled until in 2023 it reached nearly 1 million. That's about the population of Birmingham, our second largest city.
Daily Mad News is actually correct. If we look at the statistics aspect of it, because I went out there to look at the statistics aspect of it. So this is basically what he's saying. From 2019 upwards, it jumped from here. Let's look at the migration. The net migration there is from 2019 during the corona time, it literally jumped. If you look at it there. So it's correct. The net migration literally jumped to almost 1 million. Daily Mad News.
Now, some people may even be against that. But I think for the vast majority of people in this country, that is what they have long wanted to see. An immigration system that is fair, that works for our national interest, and that restores common sense and control to our borders. That is what this white paper will deliver. Lower net migration, higher skills, backing British workers.
Daily Mad News. Let's have a look at this white paper that the Prime Minister is talking about. I spent a lot of time today digesting the content of this white paper. So this is the white paper they're talking about. The white paper is called Restoring Control Over Immigration System, May 2025. It's a very comprehensive read, and I think you guys should have a read through. Daily Mad News. While looking through this white paper, something came up which I would like us to understand. Daily Mad News. What I'm trying to say now is, what is the contributing factor to this? Because we have to remember, 2019, the graph went down there, which is during the time of COVID. Now, why did this jump up? I'm going to tell you the reason why the net population jumped up. Daily Mad News. In 2019, 2020, this is when the lockdown first started, to 2021. So COVID-19 lockdown was between March 2020 to March 2021 in the UK. Yeah. And there we go. Now, after COVID-19 happened, yeah, and they resumed the if you look at it, 2019 is there and 2020 it should be right there. After the lockdown, the net migration increased. Now, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, we're talking about 4 years. So, what happened between 2021 and 2025? A lot of things happened. Daily news. Okay, let's start with this. Point number 1. Russian invasion. The Russian invasion started in 24th of February 2024, the latest one, right? And when it started, this is what happened. Daily news.
The scheme will allow Ukrainians with no family ties to the UK to be sponsored by individuals or organisations who can offer them a home. There will be no limit to the number of Ukrainians who can benefit from this scheme. The scheme will be open to all Ukrainian nationals and residents. They will be able to live and work in the United Kingdom for up to 3 years. They will have full and unrestricted access to benefits, healthcare, employment, and other support. Sponsors will have to provide accommodation for a minimum of 6 months, and in recognition of their generosity, the government will provide a monthly payment of £350 to sponsors for each family whom they look after. These payments will be tax-free. They will not affect benefit entitlement nor council tax status.
Daily news. So this is the lounge at the moment. What I was thinking was that this could be converted to a bedroom.
Natalie's turning her living room into a home for Ukrainian refugees.
So in terms of the sofa and everything, all of this, we can just move out of the room, and then we'll look to buy a double bed, king size bed, something like that to go in here.
She's even turning her utility room into a storage area for their food.
We could completely clear this area out, clear all of the cupboards out, even put a small fridge under the worktop. So it could just sort of provide that area for someone just to have a little bit of space.
And supporting Ukrainians who've been through...
Michael Gove, the Housing and Community Secretary, is hoping thousands of people like Natalie will also welcome Ukrainians into their homes.
Our country has a long and proud history of supporting the most vulnerable during their darkest hours. We took in refugees fleeing Hitler's Germany, those fleeing repression in Idi Amin's Uganda, and of course those who fled the atrocities of the Balkan Wars. More recently, we've offered support to those fleeing persecution in Syria, Afghanistan, and Hong Kong. And we're doing so again with Homes for Ukraine.
But Labour's Lisa Nandy criticised the government scheme for what she called excessive bureaucracy.
We are really deeply concerned about the lack of urgency. He went on TV yesterday to claim that Ukrainians could be here by Sunday, but he's just told us that they will still need a visa under the current application process. These are 50-page forms that have to be completed online, asking people who have fled with nothing to find an internet cafe to upload documents they don't have.
In the Homes for Ukraine scheme, hosts will be expected to offer accommodation for Ukrainians for a minimum of 6 months, and they'll receive £350 tax-free for every month they house a refugee or a family. Unlike previous schemes, Ukrainians do not need to have any links to the UK, and there will be no limit on the number who can come here. Refugees will have access to the NHS and other public services, and their children will be able to attend local schools. Natalie's husband Stefan said taking in someone was an easy decision to make.
When we saw what these people are going through, we thought if we were in their shoes, we'd want someone to offer to give them somewhere to be safe and have a roof over their heads.
Daily news. This is where my big argument is. How many Ukrainians actually came in that boosted the net migration? Daily news. According to the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford, the Migration Observatory informs debates on international migration and public policy. Yeah? If you have a look at them here, they said, this is what they claim. Around 210,000 people have arrived in the UK under the Ukraine Family and Sponsor Scheme by 16th of July 2024. Daily news. Around 210,000 people have arrived in the UK under the Ukraine Family and Sponsorship Scheme by 16th of July 2024. That was out of a total of 342,000 applications and 261,000 granted visas. Daily news. The number of Ukrainian refugees coming in has contributed to the rise in net migration. It has contributed to the rise in net migration. Okay, so Let's look at what other news channels or other newspapers are saying. According to Sky News, crushing blow for care homes as the fair ban on overseas recruitment. We've talked about that earlier, that this is actually going to affect care homes and construction workers' company because of what the government is planning to do. Now, this is what one of the care homes just bought today.
I have a cup of tea.
Almost all the carers at this South London home were born outside the UK. The care sector has long faced staff shortages, and bosses here believe migrant workers are essential.
Whether you're from Jamaica, you're from India, you're from Philippines, all of those countries, we're here to make up that gap, which like at home people, most time they don't want to do it or they're not doing it. So it's like it will be in trouble if we are not here.
But ministers want to crack down on legal migration and say overseas recruitment of care workers needs to end. The government wants to cut low-skilled visas in areas like care and construction by 50,000. It says skilled migrant workers will now need degree-level qualifications and says businesses employing migrants must invest in training British workers.
Overseas recruitment soared at the same time as training in the UK was cut. That's just a broken system. So that's why we're bringing in new visa controls to reduce lower skilled migration, and also at the same time new training requirements here in the UK so we get the skills for the UK workforce.
I totally agree with that. I think there's a high level number of people in the UK, especially people that they're in a category called NEET, not in employment, education or training. So I think if the care home can tap into that aspect of people there and provide job employment, I think that's going to be, I think that's great. Instead of bringing people in, if they take that huge proportion of young people in that NEET category, if they're trying to put them into health and social work here, I think that would be a great addition to the UK economy.
Conservative prime ministers have promised similar crackdowns.
Net migration to this country will be in the order of tens of thousands each year.
The levels of migration are too high.
But under Rishi Sunak, net migration peaked at 900,000, something the party now says was wrong.
That was a mistake, and under new leadership we're taking a different approach, and that will include a binding annual cap to get these numbers right down. What Labour announced this morning doesn't go anywhere near far enough, and it won't really address the problem.
The recent electoral success of Reform UK has put more pressure on Labour to crack down on immigration. But training and recruiting British workers will take time. Some sectors say they can't afford to wait.
I think compared to America, the British stance is very mild. They're not sending you back home. They're not giving you $1,000 to get on the next flight. There's actually, I think what they're doing is trying to put order to something that is out of order. And I think when I read through some of the policies in the white paper, I realized that, yeah, if I was the prime minister, the approach which the government is planning is ideal. This is where I think some of the people that might have issues with. I think the people that have family, that the partner doesn't speak English and they have to undergo new English test and stuff like that. I think that's gonna create a lot of backlash with stuff like that. But I think that's good for the country. What's the difference between the UK and the US enforcement? It's straightforward. Both countries are trying to implement stricter immigration policies. Yeah. The difference between them is the UK is literally, they're focusing on reforming legal immigration pathways and integration policies, whereas America is focusing on enforcement and removal of immigrants. So that's the difference between them. And I think the UK is actually doing a good job in the reform. I don't think the reform is too extreme. You have to understand that Britain has already voted for Brexit a long time ago. That speaks the language of the people. That speaks the mind of the people already. So This politics is just a step closer to achieving that.
Daily Mag News.
Let me know what you think here. Make sure you like and share and put your comment below. Do you think the UK is extreme in this new immigration law, or do you think the government is just doing what it's supposed to do? And make sure you download this white paper. It's very important. I'm out.
Daily Mag News. Mag News. Daily Mag News. Mag News. Daily Mag News.